So now we've created our second page. We've got a bit of content on there, but at the moment it's looking a little bit boring with just the white background and the black text. We've added some formatting to the text. However, we could use something like colors in our backgrounds and perhaps even a border to make it really pop off the page. So to do that, we're going to add some more CSS. First thing we want to do is change our body CSS and add a few more properties. So if we come down here and make sure we've selected body in our CSS styles browser and come down and edit that rule, we can start changing some of the things in here. So let's go down to our background color. We can come along and choose any number of these ones here, or we can just simply type in the color we want. Next, we want to come down to the box category, and over in margin we want to make sure that we've set our left and right margins, so uncheck the same for all, and we'll choose these auto. That'll help us when we resize a window to make sure our content is always on the center of the page. We also want to add some padding, so uncheck the same for all, and our padding top we want at 8 pixels, right will be 24, bottom will be 24, and left will be 24. And go ahead and click OK. And you can see now my background has now updated with the color I chose and add a little bit of space around there with my padding settings. So next thing we're going to do is add a border. In this case we want to adjust the HTML code. So again we need to come down here and we need to create a new rule because we haven't got one for HTML yet. So let's go new CSS rule, choose a tag, make sure we select HTML. And you can see in this case I have this document only or new style sheet file. It hasn't automatically selected my style sheet file for me, and that is because I have selected my style sheet up here, and you can see I'm in my style sheet by the code that's used. The one thing you want to make sure is that you are in fact in the right document before you hit OK, because we don't want our CSS code all over the place. To make sure, you can always hit cancel on this window, change between the source file and the CSS file to make sure you're in the right screen. So in this case, if I go to source code, create a new rule, tag, HTML, and this time because I'm in my source code, and you can tell that because of the grey background, it says down here that it will put it in the CSS file.css. So go ahead and press OK on that. And while we're here, we're going to set a background color. In this case, we'll choose something like blue and go ahead and press OK. And you'll notice here we don't actually see that background color yet. That's because we haven't currently set a proper width for our body. So if we go to CSS file, under our body code, we need to add another line. And in this case we're going to need to type it in because it's not actually an option in the CSS window. So what we need to write here is max dash width. And if you notice this little box pops up, it tries to autocomplete this for us. So we can make life a bit easier by using the arrow keys, choose the width, which is the one we want, press tab, and it'll automatically complete that tag for us, ready for the next code. So we're going to set this to 1024px, finish it off with a semicolon, and while we're here we're also going to add a minimum width, 256px, and finish that off. To update that on the right hand side, I can either click refresh over here or I could click on this window. And you'll notice that nothing's actually updated on my window here. If I press live, I can kind of see a little bit of an update to show me where that blue color will appear. However, to get a real good look of what this will actually look like when someone visits a page, what we want to do is click on this preview option, And we can choose what browser we want to preview. We're going to preview it in Chrome. And there you can see much bigger picture of what that border is going to look like. So that max width we set before is actually setting the width of this body here. If I wanted it to be larger, I could use a larger number. If I wanted it to be smaller, I would just use a smaller number. The other thing you'll notice that when I drag my screen down, it's going to stop at a minimum width. That's because we set that minimum width there. So let's go ahead and make this border look a little bit more interesting rather than just a plain boring color. In my CSS code, I'm going to make sure I've chosen CSS file.css. I'm going to go down to my HTML section and add a few more lines of code. So this time I'll type in background and I'll type in radial dash gradient, and in brackets it'll be a circle, and the colors I'm going to use are sky blue at 50%, light cyan at 50%, and sky blue. Finish that off with a semicolon, and the last line we need to add is background size, and let's choose 8px by 8px and close that off again with a semicolon. Okay, so refresh that. We haven't noticed anything over here, update. So if we go to our preview in Chrome, it's come up and says I haven't saved them now, so it's a great reminder. We'll just hit yes, so it saves them for us. And you'll notice there now my border is filled up with a lot of circles. We can change those a little bit by adjusting these sizes. So let's change this second one to 16, for example. Let's change this 50% here to 25%. Preview again. Yes, I want to save. And you can see I'm getting a different effect there from my border. Okay, so the great thing about doing this, now we're just looking at our About CSS page. If we go back to our index file, so if we don't have that open, we can just come down the bottom here and double click on index again. You'll notice that this page is updated as well to have that background. If we go and preview that again in Chrome, and you'll see there's my gradient background and my width is set. This time the purple only goes down to the bottom of where I've currently written. But it's great that we can just change a few lines in our CSS code and it's going to update for every page that we make from now on.